Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Michael Taylor and I'm here with my co-host Adrienne Somerville. We are so excited that you have decided to chime in with us tonight. We are the leaders of Talent and Technical Solutions Corporation, and we have a passionate belief that we all have a responsibility towards each other. And tonight we have a special guest with us, Mr. BJ Hall. He is the president and founder of Reach Back and Lift One. And we are going to discuss with him tonight the importance of community service. So, welcome, Mr. BJ. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you all considering me when you start thinking about community service. I'm honored.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, here at TTSC, we have a vision that through community outreach and serving as mentors and role models in support of not just personal and social, but also spiritual development. And we believe that doing that, we can transform organizations and communities, individuals, one person at a time. And Adrian has told me a lot about you and your organization. So, could you just tell us a little bit about your organization, about Reach Back and Lift One? How did you even come up with the name for that?
Well, Reach Back and Lift One was actually an idea that my mother had back when I was a kid. Um, I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, but this kind of goes back to when she was a young child back in Bessemer, Alabama. Bessemer, if you actually know the area, is real country down there. But she grew up with 8 sisters and brothers. Well, 7 sisters, 1 brother, and she was pretty much raised by a single mother. And I mean, as you can assume, I'm sure that you would guess that she didn't have access to a lot of resources growing up in rural Alabama back in the 50s and 60s. So she was fortunate enough to meet some people who connected her with the resources that she needed to do to go to college at the University of Alabama Birmingham, become a nurse practitioner, and now she's actually a director, um, a director of quality at the University of Maryland, Prince George's County Hospital. So
Oh,
when I was coming up during middle school, high school, she worked with a few organizations that did a lot of mentoring in Birmingham, and she understood. Well, she saw the impact that they were having. They weren't really focused on professional growth. They were really just focused on making sure that we didn't get caught up in the streets, and her emphasis on professional development made her start considering what resource she could bring to Birmingham, Alabama. So she thought of an organization that would be focused on ensuring that young African Americans had access to tools that could help them with professional development, and she wanted it to be called Reach Back and Live One. She told me about this when I was a kid, and in 2018, I put in paperwork. I started paperwork and to start a nonprofit. And for Mother's Day, I launched the website in 2019. And then we officially had our paperwork in 2019, 9/11. So, and I started the program in her honor, and now we're working to build that program out. Um,
so I
just
have a
growing up in.
question. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
just very quickly,
Yes, sir.
your your organization, is it just for African American kids?
No, 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 no. I mean, that was the lens that I was raised in. It was a very segregated area of Alabama, so we saw the need in the African American community. As I've grown, especially considering the area that I'm currently in, um, the need is not race specific. So when you look at some of the people who don't have access, in some of our more our areas that has dense poverty,
Mhm.
it's not just an African American face there. So the kids come from all types of backgrounds. So it's really just ensuring that people who typically don't have access to resources have means to get there.
Yeah, I really enjoy that type of work myself, and I think it's important that we do reach back and try and lift those children with those perceptions. That they are only limited to be able to reach a certain height in our society. For example, a lot of immigrants that come over here, their
Mm.
moms might be selling Tupperware, and their dads might be doing garden work, and they may think, oh well, that's what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Mhm.
So it's so important that we have organizations such as yours to let them know that they can be so much more, or they can expand their mindset and achieve much more things. So your
You
mother has
sound
given.
like you sound like you know my grandma. Was
Yeah.
like, you talking my grandma was out there pushing Tupperware on a lot of her neighbors. Do you have some of that good Tupperware, some of that
Oh,
those
I sure do.
green,
I love
orange?
Tupperware. Let me tell you, it comes in handy.
I'm glad to see men talking about Tupperware.
Yes, 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 absolutely, absolutely. So tell me, how has that shaped you? You sounds like you've had a strong background with your mother, your grandmother. How does that shape you and who you are today?
Uh, just to talk about that, let me go back to the beginning of the BJ Hall story. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, like I said before, and even though my mom made strides, I mean, she was still a single mother trying to raise a rowdy little young boy in Birmingham, Alabama. Um, so her and my father actually they they divorced when I was young, but they were both really active in the communities. I
Mhm.
grew up in the Seventh Day Adventist church, and if you're familiar with that church at all, we we kind of do provide all types of service to our membership. So you're the church, you're the boys club, you have a dietitian there, you got somebody, it's like your mechanics, all the it's one of those, you have somebody in the church that does all of the things to ensure that you can get service outside of the Sabbath window, right? And we kind of supported our own. And my dad and my mom, they ran the youth programs that were in our church. So we had something called the Pathfinder program. Which is like the Boy Scouts, or the Girl Scouts, but it's a combined troop, and we did some of the same things. My father was the Pathfinder leader. My mother was the Adventist youth leader, and so she ran all the youth programs in the church. Um, Also, my father, for some of the guys who couldn't we couldn't find like some safe places to play basketball and during times in the hot months. So my dad would rent out the YWCA, and we would go up there and spend our Sundays playing basketball in the gym at the YWCA. So they really focused on making sure that everybody had enough, and connecting people to whatever they needed to ensure that we were living what we considered the good life, right? So
So is that what inspired you to be who you are today?
Roger that. I mean, it's funny because it's like people talk about inspiring, but it just seems like what you do. You
Hmm.
kind of look at the groups that you're involved in, and they're all like family. Like once somebody's a part of your tribe, you make sure that your tribe is good, right? So I don't really think about it as something that I've been inspired to do. I just think of, I just have a different tribe now, so I make sure that people in my tribe are good.
Oh, well, that's excellent. So, if you could just tell our viewers everything that you've done to serve your country and your community, because they may not know that we've got some greatness on our show today, right? So, if you could just tell our viewers, and I want you to sell yourself, brag about yourself and your organization just a little bit. You know, what exactly do you do?
uh,
Because I'm hearing NAACP, I'm hearing, the church, youth, um,
Roger that.
the army. And
Mm,
tell me, describe your community to us, and tell us everything that you do in your local area.
Roger that. I'll start with where my service began. I took over the reins as a Adventist youth leader when I was in high school. So I started giving back as early as possible. I felt like the old people in the church were taking us in a bad direction. So let's figure out how to lead the youth. Let us lead ourselves. But looking at that leadership aspect, it was something that became very important to me in my life, especially when I attended the United States Military Academy. So
Oh.
beat Army. I mean, beat Navy.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh,
Beat Army. Good answer.
beat Navy. Go Army. And see, now now you can tell my nerves are getting to me. So
Okay.
go Army, beat Navy. But I spent a few years in air defense working with Patriot missiles. Shout out to all the soldiers over there in Fort Bliss with the air defense units over there. After I got out of the military, I went into Six Sigma um, lean manufacturing, and where I ran a training program with a supplier for Hyundai, and ended up really started utilizing my systems engineering degree. Got my green belt. Then Katrina came and took us out of the training. Took out our training budget, and ended up not getting my black belt. But
Oh, how unfortunate. Did Adrienne tell her that her and I were black belts?
Yep.
no, she's never told me that she was a black belt.
She's very modest.
she's definitely humble about that black belt she has at the house.
That was some sweat, blood, and tears to get that thing and all that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No, but I do respect the fact that that the government is actually attempting to do something on the efficiency side, because from where I sit, I can't really tell that they care about efficiency anywhere.
Mhm.
but but when I went into project management, done oil and gas, whatever. I mean, I don't want to sit there and talk about. I don't want to read my resume, but
Right. So
I
you served your country.
served my country,
Hmm.
did some things on the professional side, pretty much in project management, and
Hmm.
that's where I am now. Ended up bouncing all over the place, spent some time in Canada, but when I got back to the States, um, it gave me an opportunity to get back into some of the community work. And the first thing I did was look up the oldest and boldest, the NAACP, and try to find a way to get attached to that organization here locally.
Hmm.
One of our I think everybody's auntie here down in St. Mary's, Janice Walthour, she'll find some work for you to do, trust and believe. And she took me in like I was a family member, and I've been working with the organization ever since. So I've been here about 8 years, and
Okay.
I've just been I've gone from the press and publicity chair to leading political action to being the president of the branch. Um,
Okay.
while
That's excellent.
since I've been here in the county, I also
Mhm.
a part of a lot of little boards and whatnot. But
Mhm.
I was a part of the economic development commission here in the county, and on the planning commission overseeing development and whatnot here in St. Mary's County.
So you've been with the NAACP for 8 years, and okay, so you've served your country. You're serving your community through the NAACP. Tell us a little bit about your organization and what it's has accomplished, and where do you see yourself going with your organization? What's the vision you have? But I want to hear
Right.
some of the accomplishments first. Let's start with that one. What have you done with your organization?
Right now we're building the organization, but we're in our second year of our youth and aviation program. It's a really awesome partnership with the East Coast chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen, and what we're doing is providing private pilot um, lessons
Wow,
to kids and
that's
16 and 19
exciting.
here in the
That's
area.
I wish I could have taken pilot lessons when I was 16. What about you, Adrienne?
Well, absolutely. I know someone, a female actually, who had a pilot license before she had a driver's license. It's pretty
Wow,
impressive. Yeah.
that is very impressive. Can you imagine these young children
Come on.
uh, having the opportunity to take pilot lessons. I would love to take pilot lessons.
Well, I mean, we have a couple of spots for adults if you're interested.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm very interested.
how many of your children, Mr. Hall, have actually even flown on a plane before?
We had a few people that most of the kids have flown on a plane, but we did have in our first class we had two young ladies that
Hmm.
never been on a plane. So one of the
Hmm.
first things we do in our introduction is get them on a Cessna, and
Hmm.
and oh my God, they came back down and they loved it. Um,
Hmm.
what was better was this second year. Some of the cool kids got off the plane. It was wonderful just kind of seeing how the expression changed from I'm a smooth walk out to the car. I mean to the plane, and they got up and they were so excited. I was excited for them, just seeing the smiles on their faces when they got off the plane. It was awesome.
That's great. That's great. And what else are you doing with the children? Anything else?
Right now is mainly partnerships. We help. We work with the Grinding Academy, and we're doing a lot of outreach to get it to make sure that people understand who we are and what we do, and build those informal relationships that are necessary to help our organization grow. So we had a flag football league that we're sponsoring. This is our second year. We just finished the second season, and that's really had it given us an opportunity to really touch on a regular basis for about 10 weeks. We get really intimate with about
Hmm.
120 guys, and I'm telling you, that 120 guys and their families, and that's been really awesome. We also we're working on a program with Indian Head to set up an apprenticeship program um, with one of the labs there to get some kids into a sheet metal apprenticeship. Um, Hopefully, we can get that lined out by the end of the summer, so some of the kids can graduate and just roll into the program. It's looking
Hmm.
promising, but I mean, we're working with the government. We need some of y'all Six Sigma black belts out there to make this process a little.
Well, I think it's
So,
wonderful when we can mold and mentor our kids, right? Especially
Absolutely.
in the African American communities and some of the underserved communities where there are not much resources available. So I think those are excellent programs, teaching them how to fly, put them into those manufacturing programs. That's really, really good. I just want to know. What motivates you to serve your community? Why do you have such a strong passion? Is it something, I don't want to lead you on, but I'm just wondering, is this something your mom and your grandparents instilled in you, the church? Why do you have such a strong passion to serve your community?
Oh, probably because I have such a critical eye. And it's one of those things where I see a lot of flaws and you see things that need to be fixed.
Mhm.
Um, but I hear too many people talking about the problems and not coming up with solutions. So
mhm.
I've always been a solution oriented person. So what they call it? I can't remember what's his name. Maj Toure, where he said, "I want to be a solutionary." It was like a revolutionary, but it was like,
Yes,
yeah. So it's like he was like, you make change by introducing solutions instead of just creating um, chaos. It's like we
yes,
come here equipped with ways to fix problems that we've observed.
yes,
So
yes.
I have a question for you. So the impact that you've had across the community is visible, right? So we can see your actions and how they've changed outcomes. But what I'm most interested in is how has it all affected you personally and or professionally?
Well, so I'm not. I'm. It. I was it. Obama. President Obama was writing. He wrote. He was right. He wrote in this book about the hard times where he had to sit in fellowship halls with three church women when he was trying to learn how to be an organizer. Um, Community service is hard when you start.
Hmm.
It's definitely a business of perseverance. Um, and I think that it's helped humble me in a way, Um, that's probably noticeable only to people who didn't know me before I got here. But I think the perseverance that is taught me, the patience that I've learned. Um, I mean, and I think it really intensifies the fire within me because it's one of those things where I don't take it as a loss. And when I have a program that doesn't pan out the way that I want, it's not as successful as I imagined it when I started planning it, or the outcome doesn't match the expectations. Where it's like I read something in Jane C. Maxwell, John C. Maxwell book where he said he gave us a quote which said, "Don't wish that it's easier, wish that you were better." And so you find ways that to improve yourself to make sure that you can get the outcome that you wish that you desire. And so it's making me improve my leadership, improve my drive, improve my organization. I mean, it's helping me grow in ways that I didn't anticipate.
Yeah, that's excellent. I'd like to take this time, even though you are a special guest, but I do have a question for Adrian. Adrian, how has your, because you have the Carolyn Parker Foundation, and I know your organization has done Alzheimer's research. You have the Cinderella Project. You go into schools and mentor young men and women, which I've been a part of that. How's that affected you? Because you've had quite an impact on your local community as well. So, I don't want you to sit back and be shy. And let's hear how serving your community has impacted you as well.
Good question, Michael.
So the hosting rules clearly have reversed here. Um,
Absolutely.
so for me, a word that comes to mind is enlightened. I think working with the youth and even working in my sister to sister arena with other women, I find that I'm always learning. I think it's a lifelong learning journey for me. And what comes to mind is I'm always enlightened and fascinated by the challenges that individuals are facing, the opportunities to educate and increase awareness about things that others aren't familiar with, the doors and opportunity and access that I'm able to navigate and grant, um, to, I think, ensure the betterment of all people. So for me, I think I'm always enlightened by the experiences that I'm afforded, even though the notion is that I'm being helpful. I think I'm receiving as much as I'm giving, and I'm always enlightened and inspired by the opportunity. So very grateful for that.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I have to tell you that I am in the presence of greatness because I don't have a nonprofit, but keep me in your prayers. Hopefully, one day soon, I'll be able to stand alongside of you great giants in the community, and brag about the things that I have been able to accomplish by serving.
Well, and Michael, just a shout out. So for Mr. Halls, I explained to him when one of our local schools had an unfortunate shooting, you were
Mhm.
one of the men like first on the scene that we
Absolutely.
commuted down from Frederick, Maryland to talk
Mhm.
about. And you can share some of the things that you talked about, but I think it's still a need, particularly with boys. And so although I can be a facilitator behind the scenes, I'm always happy to get, good male leaders in the community in front of young boys like you all.
Yes, well, I think, and this is the message that I gave the boys when I was there at the high school. I think it's important to have a vision for yourself.
Mm.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And what are the steps that you're going to take to reach that goal? And I recall very vividly, I showed them on a PowerPoint presentation, and I showed them a beach ball in the middle of the ocean. And I asked him, "Do you want to be like this beach ball, just being thrown to and fro without having any vision? Or would
Mm.
you like to have a vision and go directly, creating those steps to accomplish that vision?" And that certainly resonated with them. So I asked them a couple questions. What are your passions? What do you think that you can do well? I expressed to them that education can open doors for them. So it's important to get their education. I talked about if they, and because not college isn't for everyone, but
Hmm.
if you don't want to go to college, play a sport, get a vocation, do something to build yourself up so you can accomplish your vision, and in turn, give back to your communities. So that was basically the message that I gave to those young boys. Yes, sir. It looks like Mr. JD has a question.
So, real quick, you mentioned that that you would consider starting a nonprofit. When you start your nonprofit,
Mhm.
what is your nonprofit going to be focused on?
Well, I will have a couple nonprofits. The first one would be a ministry,
Mm.
um, and that
What type
ministry,
of ministry now, sir?
yeah. So a Christian ministry,
Okay.
and that Christian ministry would focus on end time updates, uh, letting the community know how we are living in the end times according to the Bible. And the second nonprofit that I would open would be something similar to yours. It would be an academy for young men who don't have resources, to
Mm.
mentor them, to open up doors for education, to partner with businesses so they can do internships, connect them with scholarships, and things of that nature.
Roger that. That's awesome. Um, Speaking of scholarships, I'm going to be working with a couple of programs here in the spring, trying to connect kids to the ROTC programs so they can get those scholarships. A friend of mine, his name is Sean Lanier. He has a program that's tied to VMI, but it's also connected to the Army ROTC scholarships. So
And
he
BMI is the Virginia Military Institute.
Roger that. I was thinking
Okay.
about that when I said it. I was like, I was like, yes, ma'am. It's the Virginia
You
Military
know,
Institute.
we live in a world of acronyms, but I just want to
We
make sure
do.
everybody understands them.
Yes, ma'am. And so it's the baby West Point if you're not familiar. So but he has a mentor program that goes along with it because a lot of people who start the ROTC program don't finish. So it's ensuring that all the kids that begin the program have a successful mentor, a young officer, or someone that's about to complete the program, to help talk them through some of the rough spots. So I'm excited to be working with him. Hopefully, we can find a way to secure some resources here in the state to help grow the program. We try to get him over the 400 student um, bar by next school year. So.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I'm just curious. You know, by you serving your community, has that opened up any doors for you?
Well, I think the nonprofit industry, like working in that business, it puts you in a position where you need to contact leaders that can provide money. So those are valuable relationships um,
Mhm.
to have uh, professionally as well. Not to mention, I ran for office, so where some of the people who could assist with
Absolutely. Yeah,
financing that
yeah.
campaign, um, people who know you personally
Mhm,
because they've worked with some of the positive the positivity that you've pushed in your community. So they've
mhm.
participated in that. So it's not somebody that you have to sell on you because you've already
Right.
sold them on you and your impact, right? So
Mhm,
um, I benefit from those relationships, but to me, I
mhm.
think that those relationships are necessary just to be um, a citizen that can add to its community. So it's not just about service or the nonprofit piece. It's
Mhm.
just about being a good citizen here in the community.
Oh, great. Now, did you used to box or something?
Was that another community outreach program?
Well, I
Well,
mean, there
There
is
is one.
a great community of was it there's a gym knowledge boxing that's down here that does a lot of good community work. Shout out to Daryl, but
the
Daryl Hemming,
reason
I'm sorry,
the
but no,
reason
I
why
don't.
the
The
reason
belt.
why I ask, it looks like you have those little heavyweight boxing champion belts behind you. So I was just curious.
No,
And it's also good information because when we're in person, I don't want to offend you in any form or fashion.
well, so
Michael doesn't miss a
just so
beat.
you
I didn't
know,
notice that in the background.
just so you know, these hands have been trained, but those are not championship belts that I earned in the ring. Uh, I'm sure that you. What did you grow? You grew up in the '80s, right?
I did, yes.
All right. So I was making an assumption. I guess I didn't have to ask that. I didn't put you on the spot like that. But growing up in the '80s, in the South, I had a love for wrestling. So my father used to take me to those wrestling matches, and this was actually a belt. This one here is actually autographed by Hulk Hogan,
Oh,
and this was one that I got customized, just to show off my love for my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi.
oh, okay, all
Yes,
right.
sir.
So
Which
that's
is another community, right?
another skill you can transfer to our youth.
Well, the funny thing about it is, so like one of the programs that we've done, just on the outreach side, we provided we host Halloween in the square. So Halloween in the square, we had our third year this year, and we had about 1,000 kids come through. And what it is, it's kind of like a trunk or treat, but we have vendors that come in. Well, I'm saying vendors, but it's companies that come in, and we don't charge them at all. They just come out and give out candy, and we're trying to provide a safe atmosphere to trick or treat. So we have about 30 some odd companies come out. We had a nice little trail, and we had um, C C3W come out, and they set up a wrestling ring, and they we had wrestlers come out, and it
So it looks like we're having some technical difficulties here.
the event. Oh,
Oh, there you are.
my bad.
There you go.
That's
You had some
we
wrestlers come out. You kind of cut off there. You had some wrestlers
right.
come out. Now, so did you get in your speedos and wrestle too as well?
I did, but they didn't let me out the back. They
No.
told me I couldn't come in. It's like, it's like, come on, man.
We didn't want the kids all running out.
Eh, I can't say what I want to say, but yes, that's exactly what it was. But no, but it was awesome. We built some good partnerships with the wrestling group there, and they
Mhm.
plan on coming down for another few events here in the community. So we see an opportunity to provide some entertainment here in St. Mary's County that typically is not available for us unless you go up the road.
I see. Well, that's
You-
excellent. That's all. It sounds like you're doing some big things in the communities, and Adrian and I are proud of you. Now, I do have another question. What are some of the cons? Or actually, give us some pros and cons to to serving the community.
Um, it's one of the all right. So one of the big pros I will say, people talk about how selfless community service is, but to me, I feel like it's a selfish undertaking because it
mm,
makes me feel good. So as much as people benefit from the work that we do, I have this intrinsic satisfaction that comes when you complete a major project. It's like, all right, if you once you put when you put gifts in a kid's hand, when you see a kid learns about instruments on a plane, and they could tell you, about the physics involved in lift. And was like, okay, well, man, this is awesome, and that's because of something that we did. One of the kids from our youth and aviation program. I'm actually on the Steny Hoyer's Service Academy selection board, and one of the kids from our program was interviewing for a nomination. So it's like
That's
these are one of the
awesome.
kids that's a part of our program, and these are kids' lives that we've touched, and they're going to go on and do some great things. So that feels good to me. Now, when you start talking about cons, oh, I can show you some receipts because you're not doing this for money. It's
Right.
one of those things. It costs you money.
Some
It
miles
costs
on
you
your
time.
car.
It costs you miles on your car. I mean, and
Mhm.
it takes energy. And
Mhm.
and the thing
It
about it
does.
is being that it doesn't pay the bills. You still have a full-time job. So you
Right.
can't start your nonprofit work until you get off work. So it's
Right.
one of those things where it's a labor of love, because the only thing that you do get is that intrinsic satisfaction. It's like, oh
Right.
man, I am providing this service to
Right.
people, and this is like people that benefit from me putting all this work in. It's like, all right, that
Mhm.
that that is a plus. But as far as like a lot of people think that it's some type of financial gain. It was like, oh, it's a little hustle. Let me tell
No,
you, it
it's
Yeah.
not.
it's not a hustle.
No,
Would
not at
you
all.
say that's a great segue into our next question? Um, what advice would you give to someone out there who'd like to start a nonprofit or who has a nonprofit but doesn't have any resources?
We just
um,
want to serve, right?
well, I think one of the things that I heard a lot. I'm sorry, my battery's low. I'm trying to plug in so I don't just lose y'all. Uh, One of the things you hear a lot in the community is nobody's doing this, nobody's doing that.
Mhm.
If we can only have somebody providing this service, and
Mhm.
it motivates you to take action, right? So you get out there and you start looking into some of the resources, then you realize there are hundreds of people trying to do exactly what they're asking for, or they
Mhm.
may be providing that service to a different community and they don't have a connection to the community that's complaining about not having access to the resource, right? So what what I would recommend before people go out and start a nonprofit, you figure out what nonprofits are working in the area that you desire to serve.
Mhm.
And serving with someone who's already there will help you understand the resources a lot better, understand understand what's available and what the true need is, because somebody's out there finding it out for you. You can go out there and waste a whole lot of time, a whole lot of money, when you could have just helped somebody else and learn from them and their experience. Not to mention, those people need support too, and that could be an opportunity for you to collaborate with someone,
Mhm.
and that could be a force multiplier, because both of your organizations could end up doing this, serving the same community in a more meaningful way. So I say, find somebody else who's already doing it, because trust me, you're not the first person to think about doing it. So try to support somebody else and then go from there.
That's a great recommendation. Is that what you did?
No, I was stupid. I went out there and learned on my own. No, I'm just playing. When I started doing my research, I bumped into people from the Patuxent Partnership down here, and the Patuxent Partnership, for people who are not familiar, they do a lot of great work in Southern Maryland.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I think one of the problems that they have is a lot of people don't know them, and
Mhm.
they need support on the outreach side. So we need more people to connect with the Patuxent Partnership so they can do more work, because they have all the resources. They
Mhm.
don't need money; they just need people
Mhm.
to deliver those services to, because
Yeah.
they got everything.
Wow.
And working with them, that's where I realized, because I was thinking about trying to develop an entire program, and it was like, all right, I don't have to do that. That's already available. But it was like, build those informal relationships so people can actually trust that you're not trying to that you're actually bringing resources that would be beneficial to them.
Excellent. Excellent. So to hook up for those viewers that are in the Southern Maryland area who'd like to start a nonprofit, hook up with the Patuxent Partnership, and they have plenty of resources to help you get started. Wow, excellent. So it
Yes.
sounds like you have done so much work in the community and you also have access to resources. So you would be a great person to get in contact with. Um, I just want to ask you, um, in the eloquent words of Charles Dickens, we believe in great expectations. Can you share with us what we can expect to see from you and your community efforts in the future?
Yes, sir. Um, I I plan to grow. Well, I'm saying
We.
I
Do you have a team? Do you have a team of people that you work with, or is it just you by yourself?
I have a team. I have a team.
Okay.
So that's why I felt bad. I was like, let me not say me because a
Mhm.
lot of times I end up being the face, but I'm not the one that I don't do the dirty work.
Mhm.
Um,
The
so
lonely
we
work.
plan on oh, we plan on growing Rebel One to different industries, right? So right now we're doing youth and aviation. We plan on expanding over and touching on the sheet metal, and that's actually there's a huge need because of the fabrication that happens down here at what's the place you work at?
Naval Aviation or ASE, Aviation Support Equipment in Solomon,
I was saying Pax River. I was just messing with you.
Pax River.
I was Pax River. So they have a lot.
There is a huge need.
They have a lot of fabrication for the simulators that they're building, for all the testing that goes on. So there are a lot of fabricators that have sheet metal needs, but we can't find any good workers. So building relationship with a lot of these companies,
Mhm.
so we can have a nice little pipeline of people going from high school or from a job that's not helping them earn a living wage to working in some of these better jobs on base. Also considering my the industry that I love is construction. I'm actually working on securing a few contracts that can help. I can train in a few specialties on the project management side, really managing databases. I'm finishing up the training program for that software, and I'm securing a contract where I can actually take people that I train and take them straight to a job and fill a billet. I also I have a dream. I have a dream. There's a location right there on Great Mills Road. Hey, you know what? I don't care. Because my thing is I go down there and I get on my knees in front of that building multiple times a week and I pray to God and God tells me I know I'm gonna get that building and I'm gonna put a maker space in that Ford dealership that's down there. Gonna turn that the garages in the back. Gonna have nice little shops in the back. It's gonna be a wonderful resource for our community. At some point, we're gonna get the resources to make that happen. Hopefully, we get this earmark from one of the senators or the representative from this area, or if we can get a bond bill from one of the state officials. But we at some point we're going to get that building and we're going to turn it into a very useful resource for the county.
And
Well,
which
I
building
see.
is this again? I'm
The
sorry.
the Ford the vacant Ford dealership
In
right
Leonardtown?
across. No, 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 no. That one they already had something for that one. They
Oh,
about to build a high rise and everything back there.
oh, that's
Um,
right.
but
I missed that.
um, but no, the one that's across from St. Mary Square on Great Mills Road.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you
Okay.
see, you see all those garages in the back. I just have a
Yeah.
vision of having like pop-up shops out there and turning it into like a nice little market. I talked to some people from the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, um, so we can help some entrepreneurs who don't have storefronts, help them work out the kinks, and they could do it free of charge, as long as we can make sure that we're properly supported. And I think that it would be it would be an amazing. We could turn that location into something that we could really be proud of.
Well, you seem like you are definitely motivated. You seem like you're a mover and a shaker. You seem like you are a networker, and I'm sure you would result in having your building.
I
um,
love that you pray in front of the building.
absolutely.
I know people think I'm crazy. I go out there with my gospel music. I open the door, and I was like, I'm down there hands and knees, and I know he's gonna give it to me.
Wow. Well, you have faith and you have prayer. You have you have some people in your network. I mean, what more could you ask for? We're
I,
certainly going to be rooting for you.
thank you. I, I'll make sure I keep a space open for you all to come down there too.
Oh, please do. We love our little state. You could send some of the kids our way so we can mentor them.
Roger that. I mean, that's and the funny part is like you that I think they're doing something like that in Charles County where they actually have a building that they're trying to redo up in Indian Head, and they got about $500,000 from the state, and one nonprofit is taking over, but they're inviting all of the rest of them to come.
Mhm.
And it's one of those things where that's what I plan on doing. If I get the building, I was like, I know there's a lot of people that are doing some great things down here in St. Mary's County. It's like, oh, I can't take this space on by myself. Why don't you
Mhm.
see how can we fold your program into what we're doing down here? How can we all kind of work together so we can have a holistic program for the kids down here, because we have some people providing athletics, some people touching on academics, some people coming from a spiritual angle. But a lot of times those programs aren't co-located, and
Mhm.
the kids can't access them all. So we have to figure out a way to get those programs, those teams, those groups in a place where they can all access the same kids without the kids going, to different stores to go shop.
Mhm. Have
W-
you thought of having the kids being mentored by maybe some engineers and maybe letting them do some internships with some engineering companies or somewhere, or maybe learning new languages, or maybe some of the soft skills that are not so vocational wise, more
Yes, sir.
academia?
Yeah, and so there are programs that already exist in that
Mhm,
lane, I'm trying to figure out how we can incorporate what they're doing,
mhm,
and maybe they're excuse me, I'm so sorry. Maybe we can have the kids that we have from our aviation program, the kids that we secure for other programs, and one, we can have those groups working together, and because I don't think that you should have to necessarily choose. You should be able to use your hands and use your brain, right?
oh,
So
absolutely.
mhm.
and so ensuring that that both sets of kids has access to both types of programs, but it's just a matter of trying to figure out how to roll that out. And so we have a ton of engineers. When Do you remember Techport? Do y'all remember Techport? We had well, I guess Techport still technically exists,
Yeah.
but it used to be our innovation hub, right?
Mhm.
So we had several engineers, nonprofits that were in the same building, and we had a plan to do what you something similar to what you're speaking of, because we have engineers there. We had um, uh, literal rocket scientists that were in the building, and we had the business types. I mean, we had people from almost every industry that were participating in tech, that were available to Techport. And COVID,
Mm.
then the building got closed. We all got kicked out. Uh, and so now we're trying to regroup to see those same people are around, but we don't have the same synergy because we're not co-located. So it's about figuring out how to recover from all of the lost momentum that we had.
Well, I can certainly say that I'm very proud of all the things that you're doing in your community, and I would like to extend my hand. And I know Adrian doesn't like me to speak for her, but I'll extend her hand as well. If you don't, if you have any needs from us, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to mentor. Taking a couple of kids to mentor and try to
Mhm.
help shape and mold them and point them in the correct direction. Now, your model, your nonprofit model that you have, like the aviation program and the storefronts that you want to set up, do you just plan on leaving that little old St. Mary's County? Are you going to expand? Do you plan on maybe taking your nonprofit to New York City, to Los Angeles, to maybe
Baltimore.
yeah, Baltimore or Alabama, where you're from? I mean, or
Right,
you what's your plans?
right now, I'm a St. Mary's guy,
St.
and
Mary's?
so I'm a Southern Maryland person. So it's one of those things where, um, the as far as I'll go is Southern Prince George's, and I don't anticipate growing much larger than that. I want I want to make sure that we have the machine humming as efficiently as we can before we try to grow too far, right?
Mhm.
So making sure that we have a sustainable model up and running. If people want to copy it and take it somewhere else, and that then they can do that. But me, I just want to stay here.
Okay, all right, excellent. So what else can you tell us what that you haven't spoken about your organization? What else can you tell us about you, yourself, or your organization that you'd like to let our viewers know?
One of the things that I love talking about that we touched on, but we didn't, is the local branch of the NAACP. Um, I love the NAACP with all of my heart, all of my mind, and all of my soul. Now it's
Over there.
the thing about it is it's required for you to stay because I mean it it's a difficult fight to be involved in, and trying to pull people into the tent to make people care when I think at this point we're in that good to great phase, right? um where we when it was obvious, when the civil rights struggle and the civil rights need was a lot more apparent, a lot more visible, then everybody wanted to get on board. But now when we're talking about, we're just creeping along. It's incremental change, and people don't want to fight so hard for that incremental change. And it's something that's necessary, because if you don't have organizations like this, then people will just assume that we've done all that we can,
Mhm.
and that's not the case. We definitely need to make sure that we have people that are looking out for the interests of people who are underserved, discriminated against, and don't have access to resources. It's one of we're not, the journey is not complete. The fight is not over. All that good stuff, and I want to make sure that people understand that the hardest work, the most important work, the the most impactful things happens at the local level. It was like we may see some things that may turn us off on the national level. It was like we can't
Mhm.
necessarily control what happens out there, but the things that impact your day to day, that's at the county level, at the city level, and those are places that you can truly get involved and have an impact. Um, when you were talking about where do you start, to me, I think the NAACP is a good place to start, because when you connect to the NAACP, you have access to the way that you end up understanding how the machine works in your area. People there, they understand how your municipality works, how the county works, how those county governments work. A lot of them know where the resources are, and they tend to be movers and shakers in your community, and they're really good people to know. And so
Mhm.
getting in there, helping them fight, and then it may help you um, have a better view of your community, or provide a different lens for you to view the community in, and maybe it'll impact the way that you serve your community. So I think that a lot of us need to um, go to your local NAACPs. If you happen to be in St. Mary's County, you can holler at the 7025, Unit 7025, that's St. Mary's County NAACP. You can find us at stmarysnaacp.org.
Endorsed
We,
by Mr. BJ Hall.
Yeah.
hey, we're always recruiting. We're always recruiting, and
Wow.
I I I want to recruit for all of the locals, because if you're in Charles County, you need to go and you need to start participating at the local level. I'm not sure what county you're in, sir, but
I'm in Frederick County. I live
mhm.
in Frederick County.
Well, if you're not an active member, I advise, I suggest, I beg you to go participate, because we always need more people, more hands on deck, and it we need more ideas, because a lot of people have been there for a long time, and they're recycling old ideas, like getting new blood, getting new
Yeah.
ideas, new energy into a lot of these branches, just so you can just uh, rejuvenate these branches, and we can stop looking at it like your grandma's organization. It doesn't, if it is your grandma's organization, it doesn't have to be. Trust me, your grandma is tired. She needs you to come through and come help out the NAACP and make sure
Well,
that the work continues.
well, that's quite understandable, but we really would like to focus more on your program. The NAACP has plenty of funds to advertise your organization, so we're here to talk more about your Reach Back Lift One organization.
Well,
So,
in
so
that case, hey, we're about to go into phase 2 of our youth and aviation program, and some of our kids need sponsorship.
oh,
So
excellent.
So we for $190, you can sponsor a kid through level 2. That gives them a private pilot's pack, where they get all their instruments and the workbooks that they need for ground training. And I mean, of course, I think we have enough resources for this class, but I mean, we could always use, we can start planning for our next class. And if you're interested in sponsoring a student, please let me know.
Well, since we do have a couple minutes left, can you please give out your website and maybe a phone number that our viewers can reach out to and contact if they'd
That's
like to
funny.
contact your organization?
I gave out the NAACP. I'm selling them hard, and I'm not
You
even.
you sure are.
So you can visit the website, RB Romeo Bravo Alpha Lima, the number one.org. So Rebel One .org. You can go on that website, and all the information that you need to contact me or anybody in our organization is there on the website. You have more information about the Youth and Aviation program. You have more information about some of the community outreach programs that we have in place. I know we talked about Halloween in the Square. We just help support Holly Days, where I was out there being um,
You can't
a
tell
black.
people.
Oh, I was out there supporting Black Santa, and but you could also call me at 240-844-2558. That is 240-844-2558. And I love to hear from people that are doing something similar. If you know about any resources that are available to help training programs that are similar to mine, or if you have one that is similar, and you would like to collaborate, I love an opportunity to collaborate with another organization. So the number again, 240-844-2558, or you can go to the website, RBAL, the number one.org.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, BJ, for sharing that information. And I do have one last question for you. What is your hope? What is your hope for BJ? What are your hope and dreams, and what do you see yourself doing?
Honestly, I want to run for county commissioner president again, and one of the and it's not just to win. I think that there's a group of citizens or voters that that are disenfranchised and don't believe that people that look like us can go out there and win a position like that. We've only had one black commissioner in St. Mary's County ever. And it's
I
like,
see. So
and
you are going to be that guy.
I'm gonna be number two.
All right.
I'm
All
gonna be number
right.
two.
Well, we want to thank you for sharing all of your insights and your expertise, your knowledge, skill, and expertise with us on serving the community. Thank you for sharing the information, not only on the NAACP, but also your nonprofit organization. We look forward to hearing more from you in the future. And our viewers, I'm sure you've jotted down that information. If you'd like to contribute or if you'd like to be part of his organization, please reach out, and I'm sure he'd be very, very happy to hear from you. So thank you for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you again in the future. Have a good night and be blessed.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.